Good morning. This is the Fellowship of Spirit coming to you from Farmington, New Mexico. It is the 1st of October, and it's really nice here. September and October are my two favorite months of the year because things are starting to cool down, and there's a little melancholy thing about the changing of the leaves, although we haven't had much changing yet, but we will very soon. And so it's summer's winding down and fall is beginning, and we're all happy. We're all happy here. We're trying to help each other to be happy, and that's what we're all about. So glad that you're with us today. We have Travis from California is going to be delivering our main speech. Robert Travis, yes. And Susan Barnes is going to pray for us to begin. Do we know who's doing the spiritual reading?
I don't know what your monthly rotation is.
I think
you're on the first Sunday.
It all fell apart. So yeah,
so remember that you're the first.
I am the first Sunday, and the first Sunday snuck up on me. So if I could get my bag, I am going to need it. I'll have to find something to read, but I can do that pretty easily. I let God pick it for me.
He does a good job.
He does. He does. I have no complaint. So, Shay Johnson is going to do all of our music today, and she's going to sing and also play the piano, and she does a wonderful, beautiful job. She's got a beautiful voice that she shares with us, and it's just great. So, in that case, let us get going. The first thing that we do, our announcement is that we will have potluck after church this morning.
No, I don't think we need a board meeting. There's a couple of things going on, but I don't need a board approval. Festival of Trees is coming up, and we're doing a display for that. The kids are going to work on it mostly. And kids group is going along. That's the only other announcement. There are quite a few kids going to be here today.
Yeah, the kids are progressing, and it's growing. Today we have a bunch of. Do you have the microphone on for over here? You have it on. Okay, so that's good. If you could not hear, which talking a long way from our microphone, is that we are going to do a Festival of Trees display this year. We're going to participate in that, and that the children are going to do most of the decorating in the trees, so that's good. All right, Shay, if you want to do our prelude. It is called Spirit of Life by Carolyn McDade, played by Shay Johnson. All right. Thank you, Shay.
Did you want this?
Just, no, I need a book, something to read, to
Oh,
pick
for
up something
meditation?
for a spiritual reading. I usually carry. What is this?
Who's just there to see?
I'm not familiar with her, but that's okay. All right, so Susan Barnes is going to do our opening prayer.
Okay, so if everyone would close their eyes, take a deep breath, feel that energy enter in through the crown chakra, filling your body, healing every cell in your body. Creator, Mother, Father, God, we give thanks for this wonderful day, for all the blessings that you have given us and that are before us. We give thanks for our speaker today. We give thanks for the opportunity to learn to be masters, for we all are masters of our own souls. We give thanks for all of the wonderful rain that all of us have received, for the growing plants, the fruits, not only of the trees, but the fruits of our own labor. We ask that our hearts be open to all of your divine guidance, knowing that all things, whether they seem to be negative or positive, are all things that you have given to us to help us to be strong, to walk more firmly with your guidance. For all of this, we give thanks, and so it is. Oh.
And so it is. Thank you very much, Susan. Okay, now we're going to have another song. Down the Ages We Have Trod by John Andrew Story.
Okay, this is just from a Unitarian hymnal, so you won't have the words. Okay. Down the ages we have trod, many paths in search of God, seeking ever to define the eternal and divine. Some have seen eternity.
Thank you, Shay. So now let's do our reflection moment. Love produces a flow of energy that I now feel. I love others more than ever, and I feel privileged to be here. Love flows from one person to another as we create an atmosphere of holiness, and so it is. Okay.
And I wanted to apologize for Margaret, for everybody. She put the wrong speaker down in the thing.
Oh, she has Ian Glory on there. Well, that's okay.
Just so you're not confused, it's Robert Travis speaking today.
Right. So we picked up, this is called Simplify Your Work Life. This is by Elaine St. James. Number 33. Scientific studies have revealed that when we smile, endorphins are released in the brain. Smiling creates an instantaneous, safe, and completely natural high. We can use these endorphins to our benefit in the workplace. One simple way to do that is to learn the art of the inner smile. This doesn't mean that you'll be walking around with a silly grin or a phony smile on your face. Rather, it's about learning to smile inwardly in a way that's not particularly noticeable to anyone else, but has a powerful effect on your ability to bring a positive state to any problem, challenge, or interaction. An inner smile is a gentle radiation of confident, pleasant energy. The endorphins cause your physiology to relax while at the same time making you mentally alert. Every time you engage in this inner smile, you connect with your soul. Try it right now. Think of something you truly love. Your own little sloop sailing into the sunset, the face of a baby, a hole in time in one. Oh, a hole in one, that's a golf thing. Birds flirting about in your backyard feeder. Your kids playing happily together. Anything that makes you smile. But don't let that smile actually appear. Just feel that smiling energy inwardly. Your lips may curve up slightly. Your eyes may shine with a slight twinkle, but you're not visibly smiling. Keep it within. Now notice the difference the endorphins make in your body. Your whole being feels lighter and more energized. Experience the euphoria. Watch how quickly it can change how you feel. Strengthen that euphoria by concentrating on it and practice sustaining it. Now think of a minor problem you're dealing with at work. Take 1 minute and smile with that inner smile at the problem. Then notice how much more centered you are and how more solvable that problem becomes. You can use an inner smile in countless situations to relieve tension and reduce the stress that automatically builds up in your normal workday. Use it when you're caught in traffic on the way to work in the morning, or when your kids are running late and you can't get them to the door, out the door. Use it when your boss or a coworker snaps at you, when you've misplaced an important document, or when you just found out that the shipment you were expecting today won't be delivered until next week. Once you've incorporated inner smiles into your day, you'll develop a clarity that everyday problems you haven't had before, everyday problems that you hadn't had before. You'll nip problems in the bud and get along better with your coworkers, and you'll develop unique solutions and intuitive insights into the daily challenges of the workplace that will help you to be more productive. Good words all. Elaine St. James.
Who?
Elaine St. James. So, what did I do? Oh, here it is, right in front of me. Okay, so Now we have a song, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit by Norbert F. Capek.
Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, where are you? In the skies or in the forest, don't you know? What to give you, what to call you, what and why? Many drops are in the ocean deep and wide. Sunlight bounces off the ripples to the sky. What to give you, what to call you, who and why? Why as empty time flows from me, what is time? Don't eternal fears and from your heart, my heart. What to give you, what to call you, oh my God. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, take our hearts. Take our breath and let our voices sing our parts. Take our hands and let us work to shape our heart.
Beautiful.
All right, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Shay. All right. So Travis is a favorite of ours when he comes in and shares with us. He spent a good deal of time in Russia in the early 90s and mid 90s, I think, also. And he is a world traveler, but he also has much insight, and he still is on a very strong spiritual path where he interfaces with lots of people in Southern California. And so he always brings us good messages that uplift us and give us tools for living that we may not have had before. We may have had them and forgot about them. But anyway, it is always good, and we're welcome. So let us welcome, and I know that his name is Robert Travis, but he always tells me he would prefer to just be called Travis. So here we go. Let us welcome Travis.
Well, my inner smile spilleth over with the words that I'm one of your favorites. But I think aren't all 8 of them? I heard there are about 8 of us. I'm sure they're all favorites.
They all have a special place in our hearts.
Special place. Oh my goodness, my smile is going to spill over some more and some more. Anyway, my talk this morning is inspired by a song. I've been thinking about it for quite some time. The song is called "Peace Be Still," and I have worked with it. I've changed the words so that I can use it in my meditations that I present often on Zoom and on Facebook. And "Peace Be Still," there's the lyrics, or I think it's the chorus that goes, "Whether the winds of the storm toss sea, or demons or men or whatever it be, no water can swallow the ship where lies the master of oceans and earth and sky. They all shall sweetly obey thy will. Peace be still." So I have changed the words to "Whether the winds of the storm toss sea, or demons or men or whatever it be, no chaos, confusion, or turmoil can enter this vessel where resides a master of oceans and earth and sky." Okay, so here I am boldly, brashly proclaiming myself a master. Well, I'm just working with this song lyrics. Master is the word, but I acknowledge, like everyone, I think, I am certainly, at the very least, a master in training. We're all going somewhere. We're all on a path to somewhere, and it involves personal and spiritual evolution. And a prime indicator of making progress is the degree to which we enter into mastery over how we are in the world and how we react to things in our life. So whether the winds of the storm-tossed sea, that is a nice metaphor. It's a metaphor for whatever upsets us, challenges us in our outer world, problems or difficulties perhaps that seem not to have any resolution. I actually don't think challenges or difficulties are in our outer world. And I will talk about that a little bit later. Now, demons, let's talk about that word demons for a minute. We encounter references to demons in the Bible a lot, and I think that perhaps the religious leaders or the people that generated religions, and not only Christian religions, but I think that there was a desire to explain why people have occasional outbursts where they seem to be another person, not out of character, outbursts, perhaps violent outbursts, people that choose out of the blue to do evil things, often out of character. So being possessed by demons seemed a plausible explanation as to why people would behave in such a way that people think that they're not being themselves. And there really wasn't any other explanation, not a real accurate explanation, until the discovery of subjective mind in the 1800s. But even back in biblical times, there were people that transcended the knowledge of the time because in my opinion, they're out of the three sources of knowledge, which are science, and then philosophy, which tends to work with what science has revealed and apply meaning to those discoveries. And then there's intuition, which is thought by many to be, including myself, to be the highest form or the highest source of information. And so Jesus was a prime example as such a master, a highly regarded master. He talked about believing that we shall already have a thing, believing first, and then and we shall have it, which is describing the way that subjective mind works 2,000 years before the discovery of subjective mind. So back in biblical times, these so-called demons could be dealt with. In reference to demons, Jesus at one time, on one occasion, said, "These kind go out not. They go not out, except by prayer and fasting." And consistent with that was some healing work that Mary Magdalene did. I studied with a Reverend Nirvana Gale in Los Angeles. He had some Saturday classes studying the Gnostic Gospels and other sources about Mary Magdalene's powerful family, really quite a legacy in her family. And it seems that she dealt with her demons in such a way of cleansing and healing herself that the description in the texts we read really were similar to present day ideas of clearing and balancing chakras. And so the demons are, just wanted to clarify why we read so much in the Bible about demons. But now we know that it is the content of our subjective minds which bring about such different behaviors exhibited by all of us. It comes to be expected that in various reoccurring situations that our reactions can be very predictable. And it's because when we were growing up, we faced many scenarios that were repeated over and over again, usually in family life, repeated scenarios where it generated a concern for one's safety, some fear or worry, or even generated a learned behavior that we can how we can gain approval of others, or how we can remain invisible if that's a way to stay safe. So we had these repeated scenarios, and quickly or over time, we developed neural pathways that worked like efficient US highways that took us very quickly from familiar stimuli to our old reactions, which initially at one time were developed for us to feel safe or maybe feel accepted. But that was a long, long time ago, and things have changed. And what we find is, Mike, myself, you may find that your reactions have come to be inappropriate for this here and now, yet they are grounded in the distant past. So back to the song. Again, I've adjusted the lyrics from "No water shall swallow the ship where lies the master of oceans and earth and sky" to "No chaos, confusion, or turmoil shall enter this vessel where resides a master of oceans and earth and sky." So how do I break with those behavior patterns, those old habits, and make this so that I am such a master as that? At the most basic level, I have to deal with neural pathways. See, I had already conceived of the basic topic for this message this morning when I discovered that I had recorded some NOVA programs, 2 of them. Part 1, your brain, perception deception. Part 2, your brain, who's in control. And so most of what I have here is from perception deception. And maybe some of you saw that if you are NOVA fans. I encountered this. How does the world out there get into our brains? Through chemistry and electricity, all the perceptions and memories originate in the brain. It is one of the jobs of neurons to translate input from the external world, whether light or sound or pressure, for instance, into electrochemical signals that the organism can use to act. In the process, as neurons process sensory signals, they create an edited version of reality, even on the most basic level. And this is why I mentioned earlier that I don't think our problems and difficulties are in our outer world at all. We are dealing with our own individual, unique, edited versions of reality. And that's the foundation of why sometimes we just can't understand one another, because our realities are grounded in such different experiences. Further on, this was said, most people think of the brain as reconstructing our world verbatim, but that's just not true. Now it says here the brain is getting very little information and uses it to make a big grand model of the world. And that's kind of a shocking statement because we take in so much. But what researchers are finding is that of all the external world out there, at any one instant, we are taking in very little information in a relative sense. Because at another point in the program, it made reference to the fact, like when we're driving a car and we're driving a car safely, maybe even avoiding an accident, we are processing an enormous amount of information, even though it's a tiny percentage of everything available. Anyway, that big grand model of the world that our minds make, that model is the aforementioned edited version of reality. And just to give you one example that's always going on, it is actually a fact that the optical nerves, where they attach on the back of our eyes, there's a place where there's none of those special cone cells that provide us the experience of vision. And so there's actually holes, there's black spots, blind spots right in the middle of where we're looking. But because our eyes move about 3 times a second, we're really seeing everything there is to see, and it gives the brain the possibility of filling in those blind spots all the time, so that we don't have to see them. That's just one example of how our brains, those 90 billion neurons, do such a remarkable, just incredible, accomplish great things that like patching those blind spots so we don't experience them. So now, if in growing up we had repeated experiences of abuse, verbal or physical, or neglect, or even discovering ways to act to gain approval, those repetitions, those scenarios over and over again strengthen neural pathways so that sensory input, as it is processed, becomes slanted in the direction of what has been our personal reality. What we find is that those perceptions that we find useful, that bring about action to deal with the world as it is presented to us, that those neural pathways are strengthened because they're of value and they're of use. Other things may be in our world that we don't notice because they don't even make it through all these channels and pathways to the brain because they're not important enough. That's why many times witnesses have such contrary testimonies, because different things are important to different people, and they record things very differently. And the researchers go on to explain, when your brain encounters uncertainty, it fills in the gaps with that which is most consistent in our perception history. Earlier, I read that these signals that come from our senses, it refers to signals that the organism can use to act. And so we learn to act upon these things that we perceive, even though the perception process is likely to be much of the time, at least to some extent, flawed. And thus we get the same old reactions because the neural pathways are activated to use the same patterns we learned when we were very tiny and putting together how to be in the world when we were such little tiny things, and the world could easily be very scary to us. So what is a master in training to do? And when I thought of this question, the first person I thought of is somebody that had provided one of my favorite quotes, and his name was Frederick Bales. This was a teacher of science of mind back in the I think in the 40s and 50s or something, and he had a book called Basic Principles of Science of Mind, and one of my favorite quotes from there is, "Power flows to the focus of attention." And by the focus of our attention, the intentional focus of our attention, we can have a direct influence on the neural pathways. I have an example of this. I had about a 3-week experience back in 1986, which provided me with a very good brainwashing. Now, I know brainwashing gets a bad rap for what it usually means, but in this case, it means clearing out the old ideas, disempowering that which is not true or that which does not serve me, and replacing those ideas with and establishing neural pathways that are my choice, that serve me better and are better things to believe in than what I started out with as I grew up in this life. What happened was I was at the Church of Religious Science, and Susan's going to remember this, I think. I don't know if she was at this meeting, but there was a man that was traveling around Colorado and informing churches of religious science and unity churches, and that there was going to be what they referred to as a world instant of cooperation on December 31st, which is now known as the World Healing Meditation. But he came to let us know that they were organizing this around the world to happen during the same hour all around the world on December 31st. And so I became part of a committee that was going to promote this for our church. And it was to be at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I suggested that I could promote this on the college radio station where I had been involved for many years. And then I realized that the idea of meditating on world peace, establishing peace here and now for ourselves, and the sheer numbers of people doing that might impact what was going on in the world might be a really fringe idea and kind of bizarre to the society at large at that time in 1986. And so that I would like to prepare the listening audience of KDUR to hear this idea. And so somebody that was there, I can almost see her face, she said, I have a couple of tapes you might want to use. And they were from UNICEF. I remember clearly the host was Hugh Downs. And one of those tapes was The Spirit of Cooperation, in which people shared their experiences working at grassroots levels with people in other countries to create bridges and accomplish great things, often between grassroots level between countries whose governments did not have diplomatic relations. The other tape was called Visions of a Possible Future and had the shared expectations of visionaries like religious leaders and scientists and other innovators and teachers who talked about why they were so excited to be alive today, and they were excited about the future. So I listened to these tapes to see what they had to offer, and I realized I need to go back through them and find my target time frame for what I was going to put on the radio, kind of like the same way you put commercials on the radio or short educational pieces, 1.5 to 2.5 minutes. So I needed to go back through these tapes and time what I wanted to hear. But at the same time, there was booklets accompanying these cassettes. So I read the booklets after hearing the tapes. And I read the booklets and identified things I might like to put on the radio. But then I had to listen to the cassettes and time them to find the appropriate lengths and where to cut it off, where to start it. And I was going through this for about 3 weeks of working with this fabulous material that was all kinds of good news about what people had done and what people expected in the future. Fabulous material. And guess what I discovered happened? In those days, 1986, in the early 80s and before, people were building bomb shelters. If somebody said Soviet Union, the first thought was, came up, the fear of nuclear confrontation and the destruction of our world and so on. There was a lot of fear around that. And I shared that with my society and with the world. And what I discovered was suddenly I realized I don't have that fear anymore. It's just gone. It's wow, I'm free from it. And that's what I didn't know. I didn't even know what affirmation work was, but I had done serious affirmation work and totally changed my way of thinking about something. It is not the usual case to do affirmation work quite by accident. Usually we choose affirmations with which to work. Wish I had a lozenge. I'm going to run out of water here. That's what I get for being long-winded. So So it came to me when we have all these long established neural pathways, why do we believe in informations that are contrary to our perceptions and memories? How can that be? You know, what's going on here? Because let me see if I can find this. There's another quote from part 2, brain, who's in control? It says, your biology and the choices you make are all molded by your social interactions and even your family history. Your biology and the choices you make are molded by those. Well, I'm not buying into that. I could see that in their research, how they could come up with that. So let me get back to where I was. So anyway, yes, it's not that. So now we have affirmations, and how is it that we even see the value in them, even though they're contrary to some of the core beliefs that we have about ourselves that are counter to our best and highest being and our highest good? How do we believe in them in the first place? And I began to consider, like, well, what about that number one source of knowledge? It doesn't come through the senses. It's intuition. And there are teachers like Emile Coué, Coue, I think, teaching autosuggestion. There's affirmation works. Many call the work that we do self-hypnosis, to convince ourselves that something else is true, that we accept is, but that our body and our minds are not on board with something we accept as being true. How do we accept things as being true? Intuition, highest form of knowledge. And then I remembered very early on in the program of perception deception, this lady said that it is quite an undertaking to understand how the brain implements the mind. It's very challenging research, how the brain implements the mind. And so that says to me, these are separate things. And of course, the brain is a physical tool. And I think many of us understand it is a tool of the mind. The mind is something else. And the mind is not physical. And many people use those as synonyms, brain and mind. But if our minds are the use we make of the one mind, and if our minds are connected, as we teach in New Thought, it can't be physical, and it is not physical. And in fact, it is the mind that brought forth the brain in the first place. Mind pre-existed the brain. Now, we're kind of slanting things toward our teachings and our understanding and our definitions. Again, in this program, it said, through chemistry and electricity, all the perceptions and memories originate in the brain. And yet, what is presented to the brain is not just things through our taste, smell, touch, vision, our vision. There are other things that are presented to the brain, and that I'm looking at again. I'm considering intuition. How is it that Eckhart Tolle said our primary purpose is to allow the divine to express itself freely as us? A means, as Reverend Mark Wolf used to start for a long period of time, his messages in Durango when he was the minister there. He made reference to divine will flowing into manifestation right here where I am, that's its divine will is to do that at every point in the universe. And I'm one of those points. Can I say, I don't think that sensory input has anything to do with how I have come to accept these ideas as truth, as a truth that sets me free. So it's a very interesting play about how our brains work and how we frame our world. But then we have, and I can see why a lot of people deny the existence of an absolute reality, because nobody's got a handle on it. Because as the researchers say, we're filling in a whole lot. We're getting very little information. We cannot be aware of an absolute reality. But there's another song that goes, search me, O Lord, and know my heart. Lead me in the ways everlasting. Lead me in the ways everlasting. Am I led by sensory input? It is not sensory input. Actually, sensory input does confirm for me the nature of God or divine presence, but sensory input is not my primary source of that knowledge. That source is intuition and meditation. Speaking of meditation, are we quieting the mind? As we often say, we need to quiet our mind, the monkey chatter. Are we quieting the mind, or are we actually quieting the brain? Certainly, monkey chatter shows up as brain waves, and the quieting of the mind can be seen when brain waves are monitored. They can see the quieting of the brain. So, are we quieting the mind? I'm not sure it matters, but I think for me, that's a profound question. But in any case, in meditation, we are transcending neural pathways. We are connecting with that which is the source of all things. Our brains that we have, and our whole bodies and our physical manifestation. These are effects of the one source. Mind is the source of everything. They also referred to in this program that gut feelings affect a region of the brain called the insula. And I don't think gut feelings are sensory input. I think that's a term for intuition. What we sense through the experience of intuition and meditation is introduced by mind to the brain through the insula. And then is it submitted for follow-up action? Is this why we are guided intuitively? And that this goes to a place that does not have those more common neural pathways. It goes to the insula, and the insula informs us to take action, to do affirmation work, to meditate more, to have a spiritual practice. It's fascinating. The science of the brain. 90 billion neurons generating my own unique sense of reality from sensory input. But there's a higher sense of reality. Remember, I said a lot of people are on firm ground when they say there's no ultimate reality. And yet, all the great meditation teachers, all the avatars, the people who have founded religions that have seriously explored or looked into through meditation and spiritual practices, what is the nature of divine presence in God? They all describe it the same way. That God is power and love and joy and balance and order, abundance, and so on. We get the same description from all around the world, century after century, millennia after millennia. We get the same information. There is an ultimate reality. We are connecting with it, and it is our connection with it and embracing how it informs us from a higher source of knowledge to move us in the direction of becoming those masters. We are all masters in training. Meditation and intuition inform me as to the truths that set me free from all limitation and guide me. I absolutely accept that there's an ultimate reality, and it is what God is. And that as I embrace what God is as the truth about me, then God's truth can be marching on as me. And I develop greater and greater mastery as I choose a different way of being in the world, not based upon how I grew up and my old coping mechanisms. So it comes to pass, mind implements the brain as a tool to embrace and live by those truths, adopting a new way of being in the world, but not of it. Not of it. We have a source of information that is not of the world. It doesn't come through the senses. I kept watching for these programs to get to that point, to that realization, to talk about meditation. And while I have not yet finished watching Who's in Control. Maybe they do get to it, but I haven't gotten that far. I was taking a lot of notes the last couple of days for this message, and this is where I'm at, adopting a new way of being in the world based on truths not delivered to me by the world, because I am in the world, but not of it. And so are you. And I wish you all joy and peace on your path. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Travis.
Welcome.
Okay. Jerry's coming forth.
Travis, I want to thank you for answering a couple of the questions that I've had all along on the difference between the mind and the brain. So I do look forward to hearing more after you get through the rest of these tapes and books.
That may be in December.
That may be, or sooner if I get you in here. So I really appreciate you explaining a lot of this correlation, and I love understanding more about my intuition, because I'm a firm believer in intuition. When my intuition tells me something, I pay attention to it, because I've always been sad or just, dismayed when I don't and something happens. So I love this talk on intuition and gut instinct and stuff, and how they are the same. And I took a lot of notes on your talk, because I really want to refer back to them and think about this some more. So I look forward into hearing more. Thank you.
Well, yeah, part 2 coming up.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly.
Anyone else? So when you started talking about the demons and all that stuff, I remember in the, what was it, in the 70s or whatever, when Flip Wilson had his show and he talks about the devil made me do it.
Oh, yeah.
That a lot of times, even though there are so many references to demons in the Bible, I think that is an attempt to blame someone else other than me for my behavior. And that's why I'm not all that, firm that there are demons in the world. There are things that, my behavior may be bizarre, but it's because I am bizarre within, not because some demon outside of myself has come and influenced me. Does that make sense?
Well, sure, but you have to realize that people could really just be so different from time to time, that as they lived out their fears and their frustrations and their anger and suddenly let that flow out, that there's something else seemed to be in control of them. And until we discovered subjective mind, they seem to be possessed, and we still have those ideas like The Exorcist, but and we do talk about dealing with my inner demons. We still have that phrase, although we no longer think of that as something other than ourselves. It's our own versions of ourself that we're dealing with.
Yeah. I think as we come to this planet and we get those early teachings and our perception of the world around us, our filters are built. The filters of how we look at the world, and as we grow older, those filters determine how we're going to look at the world and how we're going to interact with the world and with others. And if we had a fearful childhood, that was full of abuse and neglect and a lot of fear and insecurity, our filters reflect that. But if we one of the things I think that we're here for is for spiritual, we all talk about spiritual growth. Well, it is overcoming those initial fear filters that enables us to grow spiritually so that we are connected in a better way with God and with each other. But we have to, all of us have to overcome those initial filters of fear. Don't you agree?
Well, sure. You know what? You know, when that subject reminds me of what happens, if you've ever encountered a dog that's been injured, hit by a car, that is extremely dangerous to try to help such a creature because it is in so much pain that it is afraid of everything in its world. And you've got to let some time pass till it settles down. But some of us, that's an extreme example, but there are many people that have been raised to be so afraid that they cannot recognize a gesture of goodwill because it's just not in their experience to recognize that.
Right. Right. If they can't
And-
recognize it, they can't interact with it.
And so we're all have to some degree that impact in some way. I mean, many of us have been blessed to have very little of that kind of dynamic in us, but so we're, and that's what we're working to correct as we as adults, that we don't need those. They're pretty much the coping mechanisms from being little children when the world and the people in it are so big.
Yeah.
And there's so much uncertainty because we have so little knowledge when we're 6 months old, 8 months old, a year old. And so and that, so the gross disparity between some people that have a lot of verbal abuse and yelling and arguing in their homes, and other people that experience a loving atmosphere where there doesn't hardly anything presents itself that is scary or fearsome. And so we've got a whole world full of really different kind of people that, because of these different backgrounds, can't understand each other. And I actually came to understand why, people say, well, how can the people argue so vehemently and not see one another's position when talking about, for instance, the liberals and the conservatives and Trump and Biden and all this. And it's people that watch the same source of news every day are strengthening the neural pathways, so they are creating in themselves an inability even to let another point of view make it all the way to their brain, because it doesn't serve them. I mean, it's it kind of explains that dynamic too that's happening between family members and friends in politics and that sort of thing, and religion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you, Travis. We really appreciate you coming and sharing with us. And as always, we were not disappointed that it was a great talk and that we'll be able to use it in our lives immediately. We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And I appreciate you reminding me to let my inner smile spilleth over.
There you go. All right.
That is really helpful.
Okay. So now we have a song called Sun at High Noon. Is that right? And it's not about a gunfight, is it?
That's correct. However, I changed the song.
You changed it.
I did. I'm gonna sing The Lone Wild Bird
Okay.
by H.R. McBain.
All right. One.
Kids.
The lone wild bird in love divine is still with thee, nor leaves thy side, and I am thine,
Thank you, Shay. All right. Okay, now we're going to celebrate our celebration of abundance. So I put over our hearts that which we intend to contribute and follow after me. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Through infinity, I am prosperous. I want to remind everyone about our Course in Miracles study on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. Our Power of 8 study on Thursdays at 6:30. Sunday morning at 8:45, we're studying a book. Right now, we're studying Khalil Gibran. It's Khalil Gibran, and it's a beautiful work that came to us from the early 1900s, and it is really, really a beautiful work. And then, of course, next Sunday at 10 o'clock, we'll have our next service. So now the children we're ready for them.
Okay, girls and boys.
Okay, I'm ready to go. Bye.
Okay, thanks, Travis.
Good to be with you.
Thanks for being with us. Bye-bye.
Quite welcome.
I don't know, let's get up there.
Come on up here, kids. Come get over here. Form an octagon. No, don't do it. Don't worry about it. Just come
Just a
over
big
here.
circle works, ladies
Big
and
circle.
gentlemen.
There you go. A half moon.
Okay, who wants to start? Evie? Okay, go ahead, Evie. Yeah, speak up.
Our topic is basically we like friendship is, and we basically went around the whole table and discussed like what we think it is, and we also she gave us an assignment this week to do. At school, we have to go around anyone that we have to pay attention to anyone that doesn't really get talked to.
Presley, you can take over from there.
In my opinion, I think like friendship is the that's there for you and you can tell it everything and it's always there for you. And the project is that you go to school and you look at your surroundings and if somebody seems like they don't have a friend and is lonely and it seems like they need a friend, you should talk to them and just
Okay, Jaden, our project in the classroom.
So we're working on this project and we're working with clay and anybody gets to choose like what they want to make out of clay.
Okay, Stephanie, do you want to say anything? No? Okay. So that's the rundown of what we did this week. Like they said, I did ask all of my class kids if one day during the week, next week in class, just to show kindness to somebody. And they are all supposed to attempt it, and next Sunday we will come back and we will discuss what they did and how it went.
So to reach out to others who just don't seem to be quite fitting in and to just offer your friendship is a great gift to give to them, and it's really good. Someone did that for you at some point, and it's your responsibility to reach out and to offer that to others is really, really a good thing. So thank you, kids. All right.
Okay. You guys can pick a pew and sit so we can do the ending song.
We're going to be singing a song here pretty soon. Oops. Well, we're going to do closing prayer first. Are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, come on up. That's where we're going to do the closing prayer before we sing. Come on up here.
Up there?
Do I sit next to you?
Sit down right there so that you can be seen by one and all.
Okay. So from
And your name, tell us.
Oh, I'm Bree. The Nightly Book of Positive Quotations. And this is for facing our problems. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. That's by James Baldwin. We have little or no power to change some problems in our lives. An injury or illness leaves us with physical limitations. A dear friend moves away. A shift at our company limits our career advancements. It's tempting to be bitter, but facing the problem is far healthier. When we face the problem, we may find there are some parts of it that we can change. Time and therapy help our injuries or illness. A phone call with a friend results in scheduling a fun reunion. An honest chat with a supervisor reveals other opportunities for professional growth. I will face my challenges head on. It's only when I face them that I can see what I need to accept and what I can change.
Well, thank you,
With
Bree.
today.
We appreciate it. Okay. All right. So now we'll come on up and we're gonna form a circle and sing us out of here.
Big circle. We got as many kids as we have also today.
Yes, we do.
And we do have Stephanie to thank for that because she has made an exerted effort to get all her friends here.
Hey,
All
Stephanie.
right.
And
Hey,
thank you,
friends.
Roxy, for bringing Presley.
Hey.
Okay, Gail, let's complete the circle.
Yep, I was
Come
gonna
on,
say,
Fred.
gotta get over there.
Beth, you gotta hold hands.
Oh, yeah, it's my Presley and Roxy.
There you go.
Okay.
1,
I'll
2,
hold you
3.
between my knees.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be.
Don't move.
With God as our power, family all are we. With let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. May God bless you and keep you until we meet again.
Amen.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good.
Well, we thank you for being with us today, and we hope that you will come back next week. Have a great week, and we will see you then.